to be interviewed about sign painting, to feel inspired? That's a good question. I spent many years on ornamental gold leaf work for all types of businesses, lawyers' offices, art galleries, many types of formal businesses, office doors that required gold leaf, and also many years on gold leafing on the transoms of luxury yachts. The sign man can do the most beautiful job on painting an art gallery sign, and there might be some sign man that comes up and says, oh, that's a nice piece of work. But the public that's looking at it, all they want to do is find out where the artwork is. So it's like, that's what I say, it's still a sign. On the Lagunitas Market in Lagunitas, on the west wall, there's remnants of a sign that says Lucas Valley Dairy Milk Cream with a pictorial of a milk carton. I did that in the 1960s period. I never enjoyed wall lettering. I spent years on scaffolding, 4 or 5, 6 stories high, hanging by my teeth. Corrugated walls, corrugated trucks, a rough stucco. You had tools of the trade to go over surfaces like that, but it was a nightmare, and you had to avoid spilling on those things because it would take you a long time to wipe off mistakes. The largest sign I ever did was on the rooftop of the Industrial Center building, Sausalito. The letters were 24 feet tall, and I believe that the whole length of that roof was 360 feet long. And we accidentally dropped a can of aluminum paint on the roof, which rolled down the roofing, fell off the edge of the roof. We had to let that dry and mix up our green paint to match that spill. The worst experience I had was misspelling signs, 2 in particular, on rough stucco walls on scaffolding about 3 stories high, and to have misspelled the name. I left out the H of the word Anchorage. I had done 2 walls fine, but I guess it was in the afternoon when I was sidetracked by something, and I laid out and started lettering this thing, and when I got to the end of the wall, I fell short. And I looked down the wall and I said, uh-oh, I left out H in Anchorage. We had to let that dry, and we had to paint the whole wall, prime it, and finish coat it again to execute it. Years ago, there was a TV firm in San Francisco that hired me to take 4th Street in Petaluma, the entire block, and antique all the signs on the windows, the projecting signs, to fit this era, that they were coming up with a vintage advertising campaign with actors and all the personnel involved. So I did that. That was kind of enjoyable. It was like a little stimulation of this is out of the ordinary, because it had to do with another medium, TV. One thing I'll have to admit, I was always interested in vintage alphabets and vintage sign making, both on wood and on reverse glass. That was enjoyable to me, to do things for that particular purpose. If somebody asked me to do a demonstration art exhibit of my ability to letter backwards on glass, both in painted and in gilding. I enjoy doing them at my own pace, for my own pleasure, and to have them hanging in the gallery. But as you can see, they're still hanging in my shop, so. There they are. When I had the shops in town, mainly in the Centerville area, and those industrial parks that I used to rent my buildings from, I had a great sigh of relief coming over White's Hill here and coming into the valley and getting involved with my garden and the landscaping back in those years. That was, like, I would say that's the mainstay of enjoyment, was working in our garden. And it was a good physical outlet from hours at the blasted easel. As far as enjoying myself, for years I dove for abalone with the group up and down the California coast. So I decided to use my skills, and I designed, this is one of 7 illustrations of experiences in the kelp beds up off the coast up here, is taking abalone. So years and years of diving for abalone. You bring them back. The limit back in those days was 5. I think it's 3 now. And we'd bring them back and prepare them. And we had some wonderful abalone feeds here, as well as spearing fish. We'd bring fresh fish speared that day, and the abalone back for wonderful abalone feeds. I put these up here to show you what the kids are doing. I'm not in the commercial world anymore. Most of the sign companies in Marin County, all over the Bay Area, are computerized signs. You know, sign makers. You don't see too many sign painters. Computerized signage can meet deadlines a lot quicker than hand-lettered signs. They're able to just put it into their machine and pop them out. I enjoyed the ability that I could do this stuff by hand from the ground up. All the good signmen I've ever talked to end up with an attitude like this. Even though they knock themselves out to be really good at their craft, they all end up with, what would you call it, cynical? I hate to burst your bubble.